Everyone's talking about F1. I say FU F1. I'm still in the FU F1 camp. It took me an hour hour and 25 minutes to get to the Bellagio. And that trip for me is usually about 15, 20, the absolute max. And I gave myself 45 minutes to get there because I just knew there'd be something going on. I didn't anticipate an hour and 20, hour and 25 minutes. On the way home, it took 55. They had the gates, the entry to the Self Park. It was just open. People were coming and going as they please, which was kind of good. I guess that's the last thing they wanted to worry about, unlike Caesars, who during their hack, they wanted to make sure they got every dime out of everyone, and they refused to open the gates and let people in and out freely. So shout out to them for doing that. What did we see for F1? So if you haven't been playing along, you'll notice that you can no longer walk in front of the fountains. As of last night, the fountains were still operating. People were stacking up on both sides. You can come in from behind. You could see it from the roof. You can see it from the helicopter. So people are already claiming, I've heard, that there are no more fountain shows. And that is fake news, false information, because they are still running. But you cannot walk in front of the fountains anymore. They cut the trees. We know that. They relocated the ones in the alcoves, the smaller ones, supposedly, put them out to stud, to pasture. I don't know what they did with them. They could say they did it. We just know for a fact they didn't chop it down with a chainsaw like they did the other ones. But you can't walk in front there anymore. And you can't walk past it anymore either. So if you want to walk down the strip from, say, Caesars to the Mirage, the only way to do it is to go inside of the Bellagio, come out back outside in their valet section and walk all the way around and then continue on to the Cosmo. Or you have to cross the strip, the bridge going over to the Horseshoe, walk past the Horseshoe, walk past Paris, walk past Planet Hollywood, and then you can cross back over and you come out right in front of the Cosmo. So that's what we can expect for a while. So now we know that every time this happens, which is supposed to be for the next 10 years, that 60 days prior to, 70 days prior to, which is 2.5 months, everything that you want to see is going to be shut down in front of the Strip, in front of the Bellagio. The volcano is shut down, and they have fences in front of it for maintenance purposes. There's also large aluminum pipe structures, stanchions for the lights that are going to light up the street, that are going to light up the grandstands and everything else. So basically, the town is not going to be quite the same for a quarter of the year, thanks to F1. It's complete. I mean, I guess people dig it, but it's completely inconvenient, and it is killing traffic on every level. It is spilling over into the local areas now. Flamingo, train wreck. Spring Mountain, train wreck. Koval, train wreck. Everything is just a train wreck now. So getting around as a local is an absolute nightmare. Getting around the Strip has been a nightmare. I mean, if you're just going to come and walk around, do your thing, but don't expect to have the same experience. So I continue to say, FUF1, as I've been saying for days now. The other thing I wanted to discuss, which I've been talking about a lot of this stuff during regular live streams, is the falling room rates. Now, I'm going to be working the AWS reInvent 2023 convention, which is a big one, probably of the two that I participate in, it's in the top two. Well, in the 10 I participate, it's in the top two. A approximately the same time as F1. I don't know what the attendance is going to be like because Amazon and conventioneers, we're going to go into actually 3 conventions. The Cowboys are going to be in town right after that. What has that done to room rates and attendance of these conventions? Who knows? But all of a sudden now, like the conventions, they book well in advance. Now they're dropping room rates by 60 to 70%. So people who got in early, I don't know if you can cancel and rebook or whatever, but people who paid $10,000 got absolutely freaking hosed because now instead of $10,000 for a weekend package, it's like $600 or $250. If they keep dropping the rates, I might just get a room. That way we can experience it. I'll have an excuse to go down there and film and everything because there's going to be no way to live stream. Because the way if you saw on the live stream on Friday and Saturday nights, the way the lighting stanchions are set up, they're going to stretch either tarp or vinyl in between each one, and that's like 30, 40 feet tall. So nobody's going to be able to see. So if it's cheap enough, maybe I'll do it. I don't know. The hack. I've discussed it. We've discussed it, but we're going to sit and discuss it just a little bit now with some more. I wouldn't say it was more news, but we did go through the Bellagio. They were courteous enough. Nobody said a thing. They let me just kind of, walk through the place willy-nilly like they always do. Unlike Caesars, who had heightened security there, and, they were on the lookout for the first time, and I can't remember how long they were like, hey, no live stream, and I'm like, dude, don't worry, I'll hit it. And, I didn't take offense to that. But there was heightened security there, and it was for, the amount Adele was in there, and what else was in there? Mexican Independence Day, so there was a lot of people in there, so I get it. I was just like, whatever. But Bellagio, as pretty much usual, they let me have the run of the place, and again, we saw the conservatory. That was a bunch of fun, but we also saw how the hand pay situation was panning out. And what they did was they didn't have uniforms on. They had people in street clothes and an occasional somebody in a uniform, either a blue or the maroon jackets. And they were doing hand pays down to, if you had 2 cents in the machine and you wanted your 2 cents, they'd have to come and pay it out. But it was pretty quick. I didn't see people waiting. I also noticed that they brought in a slew of, I don't know if you call them third party, but non-traditional ATMs. The kind of ATMs you sort of see on the strip and in bodegas. They had a few of those positioned around. I'm sure those were on like private 5G on a completely different network. So people could get money out, but you cannot put the tickets in them. Cashier line was full. The check-in seemed to be going pretty smoothly. And as far as I know, the sites are still down for booking purposes. What else did we see there? We saw a few machines glitching out and acting weird and whatnot. But numbers are starting to come in that reflect the damage that's taken place. There's an estimate right now that it's cost them $130 million, which isn't a ginormous number considering how much they've been making lately. But people estimate between like 3 and 8 million a day they are losing due to people just not coming, people just not being able to pay, play, and do all the things, all going to different properties, just booking elsewhere. So it's costing them some money, and they haven't yet to come out and say how much the hackers wanted, because it's a ransomware deal. Caesars paid the ransom. They were supposed to pay they were asked for $30 million, and they negotiated with the hackers and got them down to $15 million. And then they released all their information and whatever. Does that mean everyone's safe now? No, not really, because in the Caesars hack, which I'm sure this one will be the same, what they got into was people's driver's licenses, people's social security numbers, and people's credit card information. What else do you need? So they got all that data. And now, okay, we paid you off. What did they do? Put it through a shredder? Did they promise they would delete it and be good about it and everything? Do you trust them? I don't know. They're hackers. It's what they do. Now, the value isn't in that information because I'm bulk, and it's going to be the same thing with MGM. The value really isn't in those numbers per se, because at best, these hackers can get 100K if they sold the entire list, maybe 50 on the dark web, because they don't want to go around individually, like charging people's credit cards. The closer you get to the individual with the credit card, the more risk you run in getting caught. But it's the optics of it. It's the threat of it. Now, Caesars did not come out and admit this happened until what happened with MGM, and they reported it to the SEC, the Security Commission. Are they making people aware of the fact that their most personal information is out there on the web somewhere? No. Have they offered people, I would say, reparation for any damages? A year subscription to one of those services for stolen identities and whatnot, LifeLock and all that? They should give everyone a year subscription to that, because they were the ones who got hacked. It's their responsibility. What's taking place now at MGM is the hackers are randomly charging people's cards anywhere from a penny to $50. They're running some transactions through offshore gambling sites. They're running other transactions through like Temu just to see if it works, number one. And number two, as these leaks get out that people's credit card information is being used and their credit cards are being utilized, it sort of puts MGM back on their heels. Now they're like, oh shit, they really can screw all our customers. So it's bad news. So they refuse to pay. So far they've lost 130 million. Probably going to be at least double that by the time all is said and done. Some machines and some properties, I heard MGM is back with no issues whatsoever, supposedly. And I think Luxor or Excalibur is back and restored. They downloaded free antivirus or something. And, it's a big deal because all of those things, all the different avenues that they got screwed, their website, their credit card information, their sports book, their ATMs, their machines, and whatever, those should all be on separate networks. And if they weren't, that is devastating. So how did they get to every single network out there if it wasn't a little bit of some inside information there? Because even if they did put a worm in there, like an old school worm that tunnels through, causes damage, can cross through various routers and stuff like that, that should be able to be stopped. The amount of devastation. Now they're saying, well, we shut these other networks down just to protect ourselves. I don't believe that for a minute. What were they worried about if they're isolated networks? But we shall see. MGM should be warning people at this point. So it's up to you to do your own due diligence and keep an eye on your cards. So if you've ever gotten a hand pay or a credit card, or have done financial transactions, 31s and things like that in the casinos, transferring money in and out, check your information, check your cards. You might even want to get new ones. They're not going to tell you this, but that information, your social security, your credit card, and your driver's license and your name is currently all out in the wild. And nobody's saying a damn. And MGM's just like, hey, don't worry, free beer while you wait. Okay, MGM. Is it on us as the end user to now go and get LifeLock at a cost of, what does it cost? $100 a year or something like that? I don't know. I don't have it. Maybe I should have it, but I'll tell you what, they should be providing it. They should just make a deal with one of these protection companies like LifeLock and give everyone a year, because it's their fault. They were the ones who got hacked. You didn't get hacked. I didn't get hacked. They got hacked and got all our information released. And the fact that they're being obstinate about it might make these hackers even more malicious. So, they're playing Russian roulette with your identity at this point. Bad optics for them. It's going to hit their stock price and everything else. But they got to do something about it. They really do. And I'm curious to see what. Probably nothing, because people are just like, you know how people are. I don't have to explain it. Have you all seen the story yet about those youths that ran the old dude over on his bicycle just for giggles? Well, that happened here. What the RJ, what the RJ is saying, he was killed in a bike accident. A bike accident? Are you sure? You sure that was a bike accident? We all saw the video. The ne'er-do-wells, the criminals who should be tried as adults, they posted it. That's like the new thing. Commit a crime, post it on Twitter. Commit a crime, post it on TikTok. They just don't think they're going to get caught. They had masks. You can see the inside of the car a little bit. But there's cameras everywhere. But you post it. You post a picture of you committing homicide. It's going to be looked into on some level. So I think they have one of them so far. Yeah, the guy's dead. If you saw the video, you know what I'm talking about. I don't suggest going and seeking out that video because it's messed up. They just rode up on this guy and ran him over in a car as he was biking here. Last night, there was 2 more shootings, which is becoming the norm here in Las Vegas. I mean, now when I'm driving, normally, someone cuts you off, you're like, fuck. It's like, now just let people go. Go right ahead. Because people are nuts. There's people out in this town, and sure in every town, including yours, that just have no respect for human life anymore. I mean, these individuals who hopefully get tried as adults and get the electric chair, they're laughing. They're like, whoa, the funniest thing ever. They post that on TikTok. And it's going on all over town every day. Who got killed? There's like 2 or 3 murders a day. Or 3 or 4 or 5. It's getting nuts. I mean, it's not like Chicago nuts, but it's getting nuts in here. And a lot of it has been committed by, under 20. So be careful. Keep your head on a swivel. And, they say ride with the traffic. Walk with the traffic is the law. Me, I prefer to walk and ride or whatever against the traffic. Then I can see jackasses like this. Well, these were murderers, but I could see people coming from a mile away. You have no idea. I mean, from a safety perspective and the flow of traffic, you're on your bicycle, you're going along with traffic, great. But now that you have people running you over for shits and giggles, I don't know. I'd risk the ticket and go in the other direction. And then when they take you to court and say, I ain't going to be the one that's going to get run over from behind, at least if I see them coming, I will have a fighting chance. So that is one of the reasons I've always walked against traffic. I want to see what's coming. I got squirrel-like reflexes. Not saying I might get out of the way or I might not get out of the way of a speeding car, but I want the opportunity to do so. So I will risk the ticket and I'll go to court. I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6, So you do you, but be careful. Be seriously careful out there. And I think that's all I want to talk about in terms of Vegas. What do we got? Yeah, pure freaking evil. I mean, he was murdered, and the newspapers here and the news stations here, just like every other station across America, probably worse because they're very protective about the town, so they have another boss to answer to, and other powers that be that they have to answer to. They like to elicit responses. They like to, do all the shit that all the other media is doing. They get the facts in the morning, they rip it off, and they got their talking points, and they that's all they're doing. They're reading a script that every other freaking news outlet in town and throughout the United States is reading almost verbatim, if you've ever seen those videos. I mean, they say the same thing, the talking point. They don't even bother to change it because they just think people are just that stupid. But here, it was reported as an accident, a bicycle accident. Oh, poor guy. Should have been wearing his helmet. Really? That's how they reported here, because you know what I'm saying? This news here is a disaster. Yeah, this happened a few days ago, as a matter of fact. They just don't want to tell. They're told what they said. Now, if the individuals involved might have been different, it would have been all over the news. But it wasn't, so it's not. That's all I'm going to say.